Welcome everybody to the first of our breakout sessions. And I hope you enjoyed the break and were able to have something delicious on the way, although we do have lunch coming up very soon. I would like to start our first regular session with a very important and exciting topic, human resources. Please let me allow Mr. Carsten Reimann onto the stage to give his presentation. He is the CEO of Xenion Legal, which specializes in the delivery of very highly skilled legal personnel to the legal market. And their motto is lawyers on demand. Mr. Reimann.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here. It's a wonderful classroom size, so we can still have time for questions. I think it's a bit more intimate than the forum we just had, which is good. I won't tell you much about our company. Just one thing, we are here on stand 48, so if you want to come around later on, you'll see us, and also Lawyers on Fire, which is a little podcast initiative we're doing currently in the market. We have one thing actually we share with Estonia. We are small, but unlike Estonia today, in the next about 20 minutes, I will focus on core content. I will share content with you and not marketing. Okay, so the topic today, I was asked here to look at how legal tech or technology as such, we'll find out if we still keep the legal tech at the end of the session, how this impacts actually on what I call sourcing and staffing. So basically about how to find your lawyers, recruit your lawyers, or select your lawyers when you want to work with them external ones. This guy here is Luca. He's my little one. He's 3 years old. And he looked over my shoulder last week when I did the presentation and said, "Papa, c'est quoi ça?" He said, "C'est quoi das?" We're in Brussels, we live in Brussels, and he's always mixing up languages. So what the heck are you working on? So I tried to explain to him the topic in a nutshell and in his kind of way of understanding. I said, look here. We've got one character in the legal market, which is the legal dinosaur, the legal dino. And you find him in offices, he or she, let's say he, I guess, the pipe, I don't know, likes to work in offices and likes a lot of kind of, being in control, having a good leverage of associates, being basically the boss and so on. So it's very old style. And actually, when I started actually working in Germany in the legal market 17 years ago, and I'm not sure if they still exist today, but at my time, we had some species of this kind actually dictating their emails. When they received an email, they dictated the answer, and they typed it, and they had their secretary typing it, basically. Yeah? So, and just sent them off. So that was the general way of the legal dino. Legal dinos, they like money a lot, they like glory a lot, mainly because it's offsetting also the downsides of the legal profession. So that's the typical one guy you find, one role, so to say. The exact opposite is the LDN. The LDN is not a drug, but it's the abbreviation for the digital native. This guy, basically, if it's a sunny day, enjoys sitting out in the open. Here, my Swiss colleague is here as well. He takes his, you're not an LDN, but he takes his bicycle and goes to the mountain and says, okay, we can basically work from everywhere today with the right technology. We don't have to have the office anymore. Money is also good for these guys because it proves, like for other digital natives, that the success they have. But it's, as you heard in this discussion about digital natives and Generation Y, money is there to give access rather than ownership. So we have two different, basically, ways to look at your own work, your role as a lawyer. And in the modern world, I basically see them in each of us. Yeah, there's a little of dino and digital native in everybody of us. I think now we are at a point in time where actually each day more legal dinos are dying out and new digital natives are born, just as a fact of change in mindset. That's the two big, I think, factors we are witnessing. changing mindset of the generations, plus, that's what we are here today, change in technology. So, briefly, let's have a look at how the legal market looks in terms of work. We had the colleague in the keynote speech just making the important distinction between B2B and B2C. I think this is absolutely correct. We have the consumer segment, where you find here the topics. Actually, if you look at, for example, the German market, you have platforms now for everything. You have for flights, you have for job termination, rent, cars, I think I forgot the trains, life insurance, testament. So there's, I think the last guy in Berlin who got a big paycheck for building up a termination employment contracts platform. This was in the press 2 weeks ago. So this segment, I would say, is already heavily automated. Then you have these 3 other areas, which is basically the what we call corporate business, the in-house business, and the external business, normally, which you then can also divide into smaller transactions and I would say the big law, the big complex, the glorious, heavy, and complex stuff. I'm, for my part, more interested in understanding what lawyer you need, whom you need for which task. And there, basically, if you stay in the metaphor of mountain climbing, you have the easy guy, you know, who walks along, as we say in German, Feld, Wald und Wiese. It's the guy doing the general stuff for the general customer. Then you've got the in-house people. There's lots of articles now saying, oh, the quality of in-house legal departments has improved because of various reasons. One is that they hire guys from big law firms who got a good training there. So you've got this bunch of people there, and you've got the then, you know, the guys who really do the sophisticated and dangerous stuff. Yeah, they are the solo practitioners, and at the top you have the guys who are working hard and playing hard, but also being the most expensive, doing the big shot tickets. So this is basically, in a nutshell, how I see currently how I perceive the legal market. If you then look at, as I mentioned, automatization, here you have heavy automatization already in the consumer segment. Actually, I would say, go as far and say, if you are a consumer lawyer today, you don't have a choice in the medium term. You must go digital, otherwise you will end up basically counseling your neighbor's parents later on. So basically, you need to find access. You need to work with platforms to just do your marketing, your acquisition. So that's a necessity. This has already gone on. This is not just at the horizon. This has been happening. This has gone on. You have more and more tools in legal departments now. What we're seeing now and then when we talk to our clients from the recruiting sector, that the workflow process is a big thing today. So legal departments are looking at their processes. Sometimes they realize they don't have proper processes, then they don't need legal tech. The worst thing actually which we see now and then is that people buy legal tech without having processes, so they actually slave then to what they buy. So, but it's a big thing there, automatization, and it's creeping, I would say, while being fully present in the B2C, it's slowly creeping and sneaking in to the B2B market segment. I think this is actually the great stuff we will see in the next years. To sum it up, I believe there are 4 main trends we have in the current legal market, which then influences the recruitment market. The legal work as such is getting more modular and tech-enabled. So basically, I'll give you an example later on. Just leave it there. We can also have questions then. I just give you the topics head on. The jobs, what we see, basically, if you look to the US, I think we are behind, but this is going to happen here as well. Jobs are getting more diversified. You have, as somebody said today already in the keynotes, people from outside the legal profession as such are coming into the legal field and delivering considerable value there, sometimes in competition with the protected bunch of 2 state exam-proved lawyers. So you have new professions coming up like legal project managers, coordinating the projects, engineers, solutions architects. So basically the main question is, why should you work on the job as the entire project, for example, a big translation, or can you chuck it? Can you basically separate it into smaller bundles, and this bundle is being dealt with more efficiently by, let's say, specialists. It doesn't always have to be junior guys or less specialist guys, but the thing is, once you unbundle a legal matter, you can also have experts on different fields. I have an example later on. So that's what we're seeing, and the job landscape changes. What we are looking at, basically what we base our business model on is ad hoc staffing is already now helping smaller practitioners in law firms. So basically, if you have the brains and don't have the arms, you have access to support leverage. Even if you don't hire all your associates on a permanent basis, you can now basically quickly add on what you need on an ad hoc basis. So that allows smaller firms to punch above their weight, actually. And finally, a legal in-house buyer. Who of you is actually in charge of in-house legal? I mean, you have more to choose from. You don't have to buy everything from one supplier. You can actually play around a bit and do some smarter purchasing and procurement as well. So these I would say are the main trends. This is the example I promised you. This is from Littler. It's one of the big. Who knows Littler? It's not very common in Europe, but it's actually the leading. It's a niche firm, very big. They do employment law in the US, and this is something you all know. This is like litigation in front of an employment court. What they actually did is they looked at the entire value chain, as they said, and divided it into tasks. Can you see this here? Intake, early case, evaluation, transition, discovery, and so on. And now the interesting bit is, for some of the tasks, or for the some stages of the process, they made up special job profiles, special lawyers, research attorney, early case evaluation attorney, discovery attorney, brief writer attorney, which basically allowed them to hire different sorts of people. Funny anecdote the guy told in San Francisco last year was that one of the guys, I think the discovery attorney, he just works from midnight to 6. A very crazy guy, he's a surfer. So just as an example, you're going back to the legal digital native. So that's unbundling in action. That's basically the new modular way of looking at legal work. Now to the core of our subject, finding lawyers, staffing and sourcing. In the old days, it was all the big guys said, oh, I have a friend and he has a cousin and this guy is a nice guy. I mean, I'm exaggerating a bit, but basically still is relying a lot on personal recommendation. I mean, as legal services, recruitment and executive search is a people's business, and will I would say, this is the outcome of my talk today, will to a great part remain people's services. So it all starts at personal recommendations. However, at the same time, how many friends do you know? How big is your network? What if you are looking for an expert? Do you have the time to go through all your contacts? That's where technology comes in now. And if we look again at the legal market as such, you have for each segment you already have solutions available. Yeah? In the consumer support, that's what we've seen. The professor from Munich there showed you one example, one of many. From the consumer support, you have platforms there and online directories. This is already, I would say, red ocean. So basically, yeah, there's lots of stuff there. You can't really invent much new things. It's already there. Then in corporate daily business, some put out jobs ads. Platforms like Stepstone and other platforms that's where they put out their ads. You have agencies, of course, if you want a more personal approach. That's what we are here for as well. Still, and then the interesting thing is now the market of law firms and what's happening there. I mean, what we see, you still have headhunters meeting in secret places and discussing business cases, and it's all very sensitive matters and on a very personal, individual way. And you have agencies and jobs ads here as well. However, this area here is becoming interesting, really, because you see more and more staffing sourcing platforms, and AI tools are creeping in here as well. And this is getting exciting and for me spooking at the same time. So this is the area I want to walk through briefly. What is there, what's available there, and what we may have or can already use. I call this area legal HR tech, which is basically technology not just used for recruiting lawyers, but for me, sourcing and staffing are two sides of the same coin. So basically, you can hire somebody to work with you internally, either in your law firm or in your legal department. Or, of course, if you don't want the guy, the lady to work internally, you can also go and look for an external lawyer. But you have to find your external lawyers somehow as well. So what do we have there? How can you use technology? The first thing is the question how actually, we looked at this in the morning, we looked at how do lawyers work, how can lawyers use technology. Now I just shift the same question towards our field. So I moved from being a headhunter, from being a lawyer to a headhunter. Now how can I work as a headhunter? How can I use technology more? And so basically this is, I share you a bit, look through the behind the curtain. This is what we're actually doing in our company. We have an internal system. Basically, we're saying, okay, this is about matching, right? So we have lawyers, we have projects, companies, and projects. And maybe who's familiar with IT, Agile, Lean, Scrum, Kanban, stuff like this? Yeah. So from the modern IT world, basically, they like a lot to visualize, to collaborate, and basically we have our processes and put it in what I call it's a project timeline. So basically we're sitting in 5 different locations now, in Belgium, in Switzerland, in Germany. We look at these projects. If a client wants a lawyer, we actually put a project in our on our task list, on our Scrum board for HR, so to say. Everybody can look at it. Wow, this is really spot on. And then basically we can click on these projects and have everything ready. So this is not really rocket science, okay, no big artificial intelligence. However, it helps you to collaborate in a way you couldn't do before. And for example, it helps us to work in real time on specific matters with many consultants, adding their market know-how on there. The second big technology tools is I would say, this is less exciting, is digital directories. So basically, you know the Swedish furniture company. When you go there, they give you the bits and bolts and pieces, and you assemble them at home. This exists Excel. So why should you ask somebody to propose your lawyers? You can go to a platform and look at all the profiles yourself. I mean, this is really cool if you have lots of HR staff, and so basically I always like this one here. If you watch the job interview at this famous company there, you have to be very creative, but you have to be hands-on, so to say. At the same time, some people might not want, if you go to a restaurant and if people tell you that, okay, come to the kitchen first and peel some potatoes for the meal. That's what some people don't want. But these things exist. You have do-it-yourself, I would call it do-it-yourself directories, which is more than just directory job ads. So this is basically, these are the heads, these are the general outline of people, pick and choose. Then the next thing is, in the modern age, you have, this is the deluxe version of the marketplace. We have, I think, two companies here who are in the field of recruitment marketplaces. The idea is here to add a bit of a gambling flavor. Yeah, your Tinder, you look at lots of opportunities and you play around a bit, and so this allows you also to engage actively in searching for profiles and people. Now the thing which really this I think is nice, the deluxe marketplaces, but it's not really disruptive or it's another way of doing things, but I wouldn't say it's not a big revolution. The big revolution comes the moment you look at, you add artificial intelligence into the recruitment area. There is one tool we tested a couple of weeks ago. I won't tell the name, but you can find out. It's not too hard. It's a Berlin company. They also won a prize in HR. They claim to use artificial intelligence in looking for people. How does it work? I did a test section I want to share with you, actually. So basically, I wanted an IT lawyer in Frankfurt here, and I said, okay, IT lawyer, Frankfurt, distance 50 kilometers. So maybe this is all real profiles, and I checked with my lawyers that actually if the real person here is in the room, coming out, the profiles are all out in the open. It's based on Xing and LinkedIn. So surprise, surprise. What do we find? So basically we get a list like this. Anybody here? Let's just compare the pictures. Mr. Thorsten Kutschke among us? No? He's an IT guy in Frankfurt, actually. He works, so basically, we have Stefan Greening here, works for Lufthansa, former Baker McKenzie. These guys pop out in a moment, huh? It's quite astonishing. I mean, this is just an extra. You've got 100 hits or so. And now you get all these guys in an instant. You see here this where the data is taken from. So this is a LinkedIn profile. This is a Xing profile. These are profiles I don't know. There's lots of stuff. For example, the legal tech movement now has these meetups. So there's this platform, you know, maybe meetups, city meetups. So this fully crawls in meetups as well. So you get all these profiles. Now, what's interesting for a headhunter now is this thingy here. It looks quite small and innocent. However, it says Wechselwahrscheinlichkeit, the probability to change of somebody plus the Umzugswahrscheinlichkeit. How is the likelihood of somebody going out of his region? And if I, for example, want to save my time to, you know, basically just call the guys with some likelihood, or I presumed likelihood of being a good interested candidates, I think I should give Mr. Jörg Generos a call now. Is he here? No? Mr. Jörg, because he has, according to the system, he wants a new job. Huh? He has 65% of likelihood. He's not. What does he do actually? Avaria Deutschland. So I don't know what he's doing there as head of legal Germany, Austria, Switzerland. So he wants a new job. And the thing I have to work on maybe a bit is he doesn't want to move. Maybe he has some private connections here. So 30% is not really high. So just to give you an idea, this is on the market. Costs about 4,000 euros a year if you want to buy it. I gladly pass on. You can test it. We tested it. We found a bit strange currently that how the algorithm works. Yeah, you know, because we tested it with the same profiles, and sometimes you get different outcomes. And it does, you know, if you're in recruiting, you know it. You look at CVs, you know, you look at things, you know, how often does somebody change position, how long is somebody in a certain position, and stuff like this. And for such a system, they needed to find a certain set of criteria how to program it, so that the machine then straps the data from the individual platforms and then runs the algorithm over it to give you the probability. So so the question is, how good is the system? However, I would say, I mean, you see the potential in these things. Technology will, according to Moore's law, I mean, it will go up. At some day, it will be accurate. In America, I have some US friends basically who don't use a credit card at the big burger chains anymore because they say the data will go right back to my insurance company. So that's big data and at its best. So this can happen. As I say, on the one hand, for me, it's very fascinating what's possible. On the other hand, we're a bit, as Germans especially, you know, we talk a lot about data protection, privacy. We are scared a bit also what can happen with these things. Maybe Mr. Jörg is not really happy for us to look at his profile here in public. I don't care. I mean, he has put his stuff on the platform, but this will be combined with all other stuff in the future. Finally, I would call this AI-supported search. The company, give it credit, they market it as AI. Okay, for me, it's not really AI. It's a meta crawler. It's a meta crawler going through other crawling machines. Now, finally, to sum up and give you some really direct insight at what I witnessed, what actually shocked and fascinated me last year when I was in Francisco last summer on the Legal Tech West Coast there, and I met the guy a data analyst who founded another company based on what he called machine learning and deep learning. So basically, this is what I call real AI. How does it work? He has a company for pro bono. He says, you know, the problem is this. In the US, we have too many people. If you have a small criminal offense in your childhood, in your youth, I would say you're basically you're black marked. You won't get a job. It doesn't get out of your record. Yeah. So you have lots of people with problems of. So he said, I devise a system actually checking by going through the applicant's data and adding it with other data from the real world and putting all this in a self-improving neural learning network. I'll show you a little picture, but it sounds all very sci-fi. By this, basically, you can predict the probability, the likelihood of somebody being criminal again. So if you want to employ somebody, you know, with a criminal record, normally, away, don't look at it. Huh? Now here, we can actually give him a certificate. You know, this guy is 85%, 90%, whatever, unlikely to do criminal offenses again. Huh? So it's just a way he wanted to use it for good. Huh? So basically, this is how he sees his network, and he says he puts all things. This is quite nice. You see here, so you have the normal application process like you do in your normal recruiting. You've got normally CVs, you've got data, but then this is the new thing. Basically, this is extracting it, like if you have now extracting from documents in the due diligence process, this machine is extracting the data from the CVs. Then you add it and combine it, so this is the big data element, with publicly available data. So, you know, we listen to, imagine you're in Estonia, you know, everything is publicly available. It's well, maybe digs into the blockchain, I don't know. So finally, this goes into the machine, rumble, out comes your CTDS, which is your criminal behavior prosperity score. It was funny. I was yesterday coming to the hotel in Frankfurt, and there was a student actually working at the hotel reception, who also is the founder of a fintech startup. You know, that's the reality of startups in Germany. And we had a very good discussion about this, because he showed me articles. There are already articles about machine bias. So basically, some people say, okay, it's cool if you give stuff to the machines. Machines are not biased like judges or like a recruiter would be, because he has a nice face or whatever factors attract me at a person. No, this is really based on hard scientific data. At the same time, there are the first surveys now in the US where basically, if you're, for example, if you're black, yeah, the likelihood in certain scores are dramatically different from if you're white. So basically, what I want to say is garbage in, garbage out. The guy, somebody has to teach this machine at the outset. The little Watson is only as clever at the beginning as his instructor is. And if the human being is biased, so the bias won't go away. But this thing here, imagine for what other fields this could be used in recruitment. Huh? It could be used to tell how long is there are already companies in the US giving you a chart about your workforce. Imagine if you have 100 people in your company and you get a chart, red, green, yellow as an HR director. This guy is already leaving maybe in the next 4 years, this guy in 3 years, and they will blink maybe. So there's lots of stuff you can do. Finally, conclusion. I think we're on time. What will basically remain? Will we go away? Will companies like ours go away who just, you know, also say we're doing people business, like lawyers doing people business? Can't we do everything by the machine? Isn't it more efficient? I can't give you a definite answer, because everything is just a subjective thing. From what we currently perceive in the market is that the really interesting bit people want from somebody is the personal discussion. You know, it's somebody showing interest, empathy. I would say I have the feeling that, because the machines, maybe they found more options, they find more CVs, but you know, how is this rational? What is left over for the? Let me put it that way. If I have the chance to work with a machine showing me 500 new jobs and maybe narrowing it down by other parameters like geography and salary and stuff. As Professor Lott said in the morning, who makes the final decision? Who inspires me to jump? I think that's a big element in recruiting. Who actually has been there before? If I talk to somebody who tells me, okay, every change is a bit of a scare. If you change one job for the next, you don't know where you'll come to. And then if you have, do you want a machine telling you, oh yeah, be assured everything is fine, or do you want a human being doing this? And this, I think, is our justification for for being in the headhunting business a little longer. At the same time, I think it's very interesting what's happening here in the AI space. You will have a discussion later on that one tomorrow as well. I think the current mainstream opinion is nowadays you have to race with the machine. You can't win against the machine because the machine will be better in terms of processing knowledge and so on. So Garry Kasparov lost, and the Jeopardy champion lost against the machine. At the same time, when you then gave Kasparov the best machine, he won against everybody else. So that means, you know, what my current understanding is that we will have technology becoming better and better. This I think applies to the legal sector as well as to the recruitment sector. And then you have a choice. Either you ignore technology, you have a risk of being left behind at some point, because some of the colleagues, they augment their abilities. If you remember the mountain there, so basically in the old days you could only climb right to the top wearing an oxygen mask. Nowadays you are enabled, you use a tool. If I'm not a tax lawyer and I have a good system, built in Estonia maybe, a good system which basically an expert system, I can ask for advice. This system enables me as a general lawyer with my general studies and understanding to get the expert knowledge into so I can actually, if I'm out of work, I can say, I buy an expert system for tax law or for whatever kind of law, put it into my smartphone thing here in the head. Maybe we all wear chips in the next future as well. So we upgrade ourselves, and then we can fly higher or climb higher than we could before. So basically, I think all of us, being it in the legal world or in the HR world, we have I think we are well advised to look at what's available. Also, that's I think why these events are so interesting. To look around, what's the state of the industry? Who is using that? Who is using that? I think if you're in the middle, you're just fine currently, right? If you're too dino-like, you know, I think at some point you lose. You just see the backlights of the train. It's not good because everybody else will use the technology and you not, and everybody is quicker than in you and more efficient. Some are the guys, the early adopters, the digital natives who pioneer the stuff. I can tell you, it's a bumpy road. We did a couple of startups who already gave a great learning effect, I would say. And but I think this is something happening currently. And my final idea is there are hopefully still some guys who like dinos, yeah, and maybe there's even a way to have a modern dino, a tech-enabled legal dino. Maybe I'm just an HR dino. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reimann. Thank you for the very illustrative speech and all the great examples with Dr. Reimann. I'd like to open the floor up to questions now. Does anybody have anything to ask? I actually have a question. Earlier you mentioned breaking up the process of a law case from the pretrial aspects of initial assessment and then discovery and then actually doing the litigation. How do you, as a broken up process, ensure continuity? How do you bring those processes and allow them to work seamlessly together? Because every company, every law firm, every lawyer has their own system. How do you resolve these different systems into a single seamless process?
This is the core question, actually, of success. I think there are three approaches and answer. One is standardizations. You can standardize to a certain extent. I think in the morning we had an example of was it a platform used at Harvard Law School where people give the platform. So once you define a standard, the data you input can't be at the wrong place anymore. That's one thing. Second one is management. You need, the moment you break a process in different steps, you need somebody, as you say, to keep the overview. This is the role of the legal project manager, basically. Yeah? So the more interfaces you have in a process, the worse you're off, basically, because interfaces, like in automotive production, you lose energy in more. So you need somebody coordinating it. That's always the balance you have to strike. Is it more productive when you unbundle? Can you gain greater efficiencies from the little parts, and then minus the energy you lose in overall project coordination? So the second one would be coordinations. You need somebody in overall, and the third one is, but this is really another side of the first one, is technology. It's not just the you have the input system like a library, or the technical infrastructure, I would say. Or if you look at collaboration ways, emails. I mean, most of us, I think, still work with emails nowadays. I mean, if I talk to young guys, they say, okay, don't text me on email. Okay, WhatsApp I can't use because that's not really data secure. But then Slack or whatever they're using today. Yeah? So there are already collaboration platforms. By using those, you eliminate a lot of the current barriers in people working in offices and doing Azure Fix and whatever. So I think answer is technology and legal project management. But you're right.
Hello, Florian Schuck. I found the criminal propensity score very interesting because I think a big application could be something less drastic, but the decision between hiring somebody to work in the home office or in the office, in the actual office. So because it's, in my view, it's something linked to personality of guy, to their, if he needs privacy to work effectively, or if he needs social contacts, and so on and so forth. And is there any market solutions available already apart from that in diagnosing a potential employee's propensity to work better in one or another setting?
Do you mean solutions where you can say this guy is more likely to work at home? Or
yeah, of course. Well, I mean, this is a special application, but a framework in which you could model such a question into.
We were in talks. I think Britta knows better than I. Well, I'm here. No, we were in talks with some guys. I think this is the content by, I think, some psychologists work on score matrices, which you can, and there are online tools also to assess people's in service. But I'm not aware of a tool which has been done. We would like it. We have, if it, I will buy it, because that's we're always trying to tell people work more at home. Don't be so. There's still a presence culture in some companies, and there is some fake news out on the market that IBM is calling people back because they thought the home, or Yahoo, was it Yahoo? The home office was inefficient, which is for me is total bullshit. It's a lack of leadership at the company. Yeah? So sorry, I haven't. Everybody from IBM is here, but the thing is, no, the thing is exactly as you say. It's not one size fits all. It's some guys, crazy guys like I can work in the quietness of my office. I'm 4 times more productive if I have, team things. I can schedule my time and I have a bit thing to work. There are other guys who it depends on your personal thing as well. If you have a big family, maybe you want to escape to the office. I don't know. Or if you're lonely, it depends on the person as such. But I think it's not very very tricky to find this out. You don't need AI to. I mean, it's just a matter of. It's a questionnaire. I think. Why should you deep dig into other data? Maybe you find how often is this guy going out. You link this to the prep. Sorry, you're not happy with the answer. Go on. No, we can discuss later on.
Sasha Demgensky, PwC Legal. You spoke a lot about how to find lawyers, but what I was be interested in is, do you search in the meantime actively for legal tech lawyers?
You mean we as a company, or in
exactly?
Such other clients?
Is the profile changing, or are we just searching for classic lawyers, if you like, so just with other means? But are companies starting to search for lawyers which have a legal tech not background, it's early to have something like that, but appears to it.
Yeah, you have two things. I mean, IT law as such is very in high demand currently, because of data protection, all this thing. IT lawyer, one of the best jobs you can have today is an IT lawyer. And then the profile, I would say IT, the lawyer plus, the lawyer who has an, as we say in German, IT affin, who is into IT, is needed in many things, like simple things like doing contract management systems. And when you need to have, if you want to work with data rooms, you can't be, you must not be shy to work these things. I think, but this is I think it's a normal development in all areas, not just lawyers. But I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Please.
Gary Meckney. I think the key thing for anyone looking within the search and selection business at the moment is what's the development in terms of unbundling and subspecialization. So we move away from the lawyer, the generalist. We've moved to Fachanwalt, the specialist lawyer. We've seen a development within the wider community in Germany with Wirtschaftsjuristen, so paralegals, I suppose, is probably the best generalization for that particular role. Law firms are becoming smarter. They're using different people for subsector specialization. What's changing within the sector, in your view, as an actor in the sector, to address hiring and selecting people with skills that are fully qualified lawyer? That would interest me.
I think there is actually a tendency, and as you say, but I think it's mostly cost-driven. I think so. The idea is, if you unbundle, you can basically have cheaper workers doing bits of the stuff. That's what we see, like you have in the UK, or you have in due diligence, of course. I think the interesting bit in the German market is, I had a mail chat with Markus Hartung yesterday night, and I asked him, he had a wonderful column now on the legal engineers and whatever, and wonderful. He said, dem Ingenieur ist nicht zu schwören. And I said, okay, are you training these guys at Buceris? And nobody does it currently. There is no training for really legal tech. You have lots of people saying, what is legal tech? And this is like you train a lot of people looking like musical sciences, but you don't train musicians currently. But I think this is a great market. If you have a chat, I think we need to build a pipeline of these guys. You can basically take lawyers who wouldn't succeed in the big law firms at the first go, right? We always say this is like upgrading these people by, I'm always fighting for it. I would say these are alternative careers, because if I have a good, we're doing a bit pro bono currently, right? We're trying to find good IT guys and telling them, it's easier to tell somebody from a good IT guy, explain them the legal market than a lawyer IT, right? So this is the current, this is the frustrating bit, but you're absolutely right. I think we need a pipeline, we need a proper education for these, I would say, alternative. I was talking to Zaduk about it for a couple of years ago. It didn't happen, but I think we were too early. But very good point, very good point. Thank you.
We have about a minute left. I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, my name is Chris Parch of Parch Lawyers in Berlin. We are a small boutique company, so all the offer here I sense is geared to big brontosaurs. Do you have an offer for velociraptors?
Oh, yes, if you don't eat me, sir. what I try
Which I think is 95% of the market.
No, it's not true. In terms of revenue, not. Sorry, I respectfully disagree. According to you, okay. So I have a micro. Sorry. No, one of the mega trends. Maybe I didn't put it sufficiently clear. I think is actually the music is in much more for smaller guys, for smaller firms, because currently there is this tendency. But this is I won't go deep into this because I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But the big guys are claiming this new field. They have the big tickets, the big money, they put lots of stuff in AI and so on. But the really interesting stuff is that, as I said, enabling, if you're a small law firm and you are a tech-enabled firm, so basically if you have You work on your internal processes, and you like the example we had on the employment law, and you have much more things you can actually do and leverage. In the old days, you only, the formula. What's the formula of profit of a law firm? It's the number of people, the number of hours, and the leverage you have. How many associates? So one partner has 3 associates, 4, 5, 10. Where does it stop? So now you have a much bigger leverage. You have the tech leverage. So you can be, if you're good at your specific field, and combine it with a clever marketing and a clever, I would say, leveraging in terms of IT leveraging, then can you be, your market will be huge. Because the guys, I would say, embracing, this is actually, sorry if I didn't come, this is actually my message, right? The guys who will win the most are the guys taking some risk, but running ahead of the pack. Because if you're an early adopter, do you use video conferencing, for example? Yeah. Oh, this is the law firm from Berlin. Oh, I have the guy there. If I call him, oh, he pops up on the screen, even if he's not properly shaved. I don't know. But good. No, that wasn't you. It wasn't. Sorry. No, just kidding. But I think it's a big chance. It's not just for the Bronto. I'm not so good at dinosaurs. I have to ask Melilla. Sorry. Okay. I think we're running out of time. Sorry.
Wow, what a great question to end on. Thank you so much, Dr. Reimann. Thank you all for coming. Now it's time for lunch. I would please direct you into the main concourse. We have several very fine dishes waiting for you there. Thank you.
Thank you.